Coming up tonight on 0800 Tardis News, we're going to be talking about the 50th anniversary episode, The Day of the Doctor. We'll be featuring with our guests Mark Bulgarton from Marku 42, Christian Basil from the Legends of the Travelling Tardis, and Carolyn Tamakos from the Atlas Chronicles up on our show. Plus, we'll be drawing the winner for our Dalek Teartale competition, and we'll show you some of the moon bounce messages to the moon. So, we'll see you in the show. Kia ora, good afternoon and welcome to 0800 Tardis News on this lovely summer. Well, it's not much of a summer day, it's actually pretty cloudy outside, but we've officially hit summer, and I wonder if we'll have what we did last year, which we hit record high temperatures. I remember Christmas Day, it was that hot, it was not funny. So, you know, it will be a bit of an interesting summer. So, as this is our 50th anniversary episode special, I'll show you some of my favourite clips that I came across. Now, we'll start off with the Adventures in Space and Time, where we sat there and watched it. This was the first clip that I liked, which would have been, now I'm just trying to think, that was when Sydney, well, it's meant to be Sydney Newman, Sydney going into, was it TV, was it studio in London, and basically told the parking person, get stuffed. So, let's have a look.
Can I see your pass, sir?
Oh, come on, Harry. You know my face.
That's just my visa.
Sydney Newman. Clues in the name. Better than any mugshot.
Still need to see your pass, sir.
Ah, the hell with it.
That's not the way we do things at the BBC, sir.
You don't say.
And it also has an appearance of William Russell, who played Harry the Parking Person. I think that, basically, I wonder if Sydney Newman was like that, pretty much was the biggest rule breaker. I do think that. Now here's the second shot where what's it called? It's a bit of an interesting one, and I think this is where, he rings Verity Lambert up for a ring. So let's go and have a look.
Hello?
Verity, Sydney.
What?
Sydney.
Sydney? Hello, stranger.
Do you know anything about children, Verity?
Not a thing.
We want to do a science fiction serial. Legitimate stuff, though. No tin robots or BEMs.
BEMs?
Bug-eyed monsters. You know, mutations and death rays. And brains in a glass jar, that kind of crap. It's going to run all year long. So, good-looking guy, good-looking gal, a kid who gets herself into all kinds of trouble, plus an older man, quirky, I'll come back to him, that travel about space and time, getting into scrapes.
That's a lovely idea.
You know me, pop, pop, pop. We want history, too, proper history. The kids at home should learn something.
And what about the other man, the quirky character?
He's a doctor.
A doctor?
Mm-hmm. He should be a doctor, don't you think? Makes him an authority figure. So it kind of reassuring. So, what do you think?
Look, Sydney, I would love to work with you again. Really, I would. It's just... I gave myself a year. Get on in TV or get out.
Hey. I don't want you to be my assistant again, kid. I want you to produce it.
Produce it?
Sure. They've never had a female producer here. Sit down. You're just what this place needs. Someone with piss and vinegar in their veins.
Thanks. I think.
I did a show called Pathfinders for ITV. You see it? We had an old guy as the hero. Grumpy old guy. That's what we want here.
And what do you think of the saying, piss and vinegar? When I first heard that, it had to sit there and make me laugh, but I do have to admit, I do like Sydney Newman saying piss and vinegar. It's something that's a little bit different. And, that was one of the scenes where, basically, was it Verity Lambert got the call to produce Doctor Who? And I'm just thinking, now what's our third one? We'll just call it Lucky Dip.
What about Leslie French? He did marvellous.
He's working with Visconti. He gave us a polite no.
Cyril Cusack?
A less polite no. Can I help you?
I think you're in my office.
That's a rather interesting way of looking at it.
I'm rather an interesting person.
I don't doubt it. Rex Tucker, I'm looking after Doctor Who.
Pending the appointment of the permanent producer.
Oh, is he with you?
You're looking at him.
I keep coming back to Hugh David.
Who?
He was in Knight Errant on ITV. Lovely actor.
Not old enough for the Doctor, surely.
Well, we don't want Grandpa Moses, do we? We need someone who can play older. The shooting schedules are going to be pretty punishing.
I've got some ideas.
I'll call Hugh, see what he thinks.
I'd rather you didn't.
Is that a fact?
Waste of time. We need someone like Frank Morgan in The Wizard of Oz.
He's dead.
Rex.
And American.
I said like.
Perhaps we should all, sleep on it. After all, it took them months to find Scarlett O'Hara. Dear lady, may I have a word?
Now that scene I think is very good. As you have to say, the scenes that I've chosen haven't quite hit to the juicy part, but the scenes that I do like that show little bits of different parts of history. The next one I think is it shows where they sit there and now is this, I'm not sure if it, no, I think it is where they're sitting there looking at the cameras and also mentioned about the patent office where Verity has it. So I think, I like these scenes. They made little different references in history. So let's sit there and look at our lucky last one from the Adventures in Space and Time.
Action assistant on the other channel.
Yes?
So this is quite a promotion.
Well, apparently.
Bound to ruffle a few feathers.
If feathers don't ruffle, nothing flies.
This show's going to be a terrific challenge, Outer space, time travel. In this first script, they go back to the Stone Age. You're going to need all the help you can get. So, Rex is going to act as a sort of mentor to you.
A ship can't have two captains.
Dear lady.
Please don't call me that.
Sorry.
And what about you, Mervyn? What's your function?
I'm to be your sort of technical boffin. Help you through the mire of all this.
Sydney obviously thinks he's got the right person for the job. That's what he wants for Doctor Who. Someone with piss and vinegar in their veins.
Did he say that?
He's very blunt.
Yes. Look, all I'm saying is, dear Verity, all I'm saying is, experience is not a dirty word. Don't fight us. Perhaps you could add a few drops of warm beer in with your
Piss and
mixture. Just for the time being. Well, we better clear out. We'll have the news team in here.
That's clever. So they don't have to look down at their words all the time.
Yes. Quite a wheeze.
Someone will make a fortune out of that.
I suppose so. Shame I didn't get to the patent office faster.
Why?
I invented it.
Showing the invention of the auto cue for the news readers. Something that's a little bit different, and showed a bit about the cameras, and it was a bit of an interesting scene. Now, since we all had to watch Day of the Doctor, and if you haven't, well, hey, get off your lazy ass and get onto it. So, we're going to be showing you this first scene here, which is basically where the TARDIS gets picked up by a unit in a helicopter. It's a very interesting one.
Hello? Kate Stewart's phone. Oh, hold on. Excuse me. Sorry. Mom! Mom!
The Ravens are looking a bit sluggish. Tell Malcolm they need new batteries.
It's him. Sorry, it's your personal phone, but... Well, I recognise the ringtone. It's him, isn't it?
Inhaler. Doctor, hello. We found the TARDIS in a field. I'm having it brought in.
No killing!
Where are you?
Oh, my God.
Oh, Doctor, I'm so sorry. We had no idea you were still in there. Come on.
Roger. New heading 270, changing course.
Doctor, can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me.
Next time, will it kill you to knock?
I'm having you taken directly to the scene.
Doctor, hello, are you okay?
I'm just gonna put you on hold. Huh?
Doctor?
Why am I saluting?
Doctor, as Chief Scientific Officer, may I extend the official apologies of UNIT?
Kate Lethbridge Stewart, a word to the wise, as I'm sure your father would have told you, I don't like being picked up.
Oh gee, I like that last part. Now, I do remember an earlier reference. She dropped Lethbridge, so she wouldn't give special treatment, but the Doctor seems to keep referring to, well, in that scene, referred to as Kate Lethbridge Stewart. So I don't know what's happened there, or is he just doing that just to annoy her? Plus the other one is that, you know, the telephone. I remember that the telephone used to be, when the Ninth Doctor had it, the telephone was by the TARDIS console, not in the little box at the front, because the little box at the front wasn't connected to the TARDIS. So since when did it get connected to the TARDIS? And also something else that you would see later on, since when did it have a UK cell phone number attached to it? Why couldn't they have something like a little bit different, like, you know, if we had to have it in New Zealand, I would have it flagged with the caller ID 0800 827 347 to show up in it, which, as you know, spells the word TARDIS. Plus, if you've wasn't seen the scene where basically Gallifrey stands, it's a good one, and it's where it gets its pictures of all the Doctors into it. So let's go and give it a crack off.
Another one. Are you sure the message is from him? Oh, yes. Why would he do that? What's the mad fool talking about now?
Hello. Gallifrey High Command. This is the Doctor speaking. Hello, also the Doctor. Can you hear me? Also the Doctor. Standing ready.
Dear God, three of them. All my worst nightmares at once.
General, we have a plan. We should point out at this moment it is a fairly terrible plan.
And almost certainly won't work.
I was happy with fairly terrible.
Sorry, just thinking out loud.
We're flying our 3 TARDISes into your lower atmosphere.
We're positioned at equidistant intervals around the globe.
Equidistant, so grown up.
Just about ready to do it. Ready to do what?
We're going to freeze Gallifrey.
I'm sorry. What?
Using our TARDISes, we're going to freeze Gallifrey in a single moment in time.
You know, like those stasis cubes? Single moment in time held in a parallel pocket universe.
Except we're going to do it to a whole planet.
And all the people on it.
What? Even if that were possible, which it isn't, why would you do such a thing?
Because the alternative is burning.
And I've seen that.
And I never want to see it again.
We'd be lost in another universe. Frozen in a single moment. We'd have nothing.
You would have hope.
And right now, that is exactly what you don't have.
It's delusional. The calculations alone would take hundreds of years.
Oh, hundreds and hundreds, but don't worry. I started a very long time ago.
Calling the War Council of Gallifrey. This is the Doctor.
You might say I've been doing this all my lives.
Good luck.
Stand by.
Ready. Commencing calculations.
Turn me there.
Across the boundaries that divide one universe from another. Got to lock onto his coordinates.
And for my next trick, I didn't know when I was well off. All 12 of them. No, sir. Ah! All 13! Sir! The Daleks know that something is happening. They're increasing their firepower. Do it, Doctor. Just do it. Do it.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're ready.
For God's sake, Gallifrey, stand!
Well, I have to admit, that is one of my favourite scenes. It's amazing how they managed to get Peter Capaldi in the last part, which just basically gave a shock to the whole thing. And also, one of the classic Doctors, the one who spoke the most would be William Hartnell. So I wonder how they did his voice in there. Did they get someone to impersonate the voice? Not sure. It'd be a bit of an interesting scenario. So, coming up later in the show, we're going to be drawing the Dalek Tea Towel competition. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about it, we just haven't drawn it. Plus we'll also be speaking to Mark from Mark Who 42. So see you after the break.
There's been 11 Doctors in the last 50 years, and I'm going to name them all backwards. Matt Smith, David Tennant, Christopher Eccleston, Paul McGann, Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, Peter Davison, Tom Baker, John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton, and William Hartnell.
Kid, they tell you it's all go-on. Get a job, get married, get a house, have a kid, and that's it. The truth is, the world is so much stranger than that. It's so much darker, and so much madder, and so much better. Have a great 50th anniversary, universe. Let's hope for another 50.
And welcome back. So, coming all live, all the way from Florida, is Mark Balgarton. Did I say that correct? I'm scared I always sit there and say that wrong.
Soundgarden, it's close enough.
It's close enough. So, how's the good old weather? And what part of Florida am I getting you from?
I'm in South Florida, so we're getting 80-degree Fahrenheit weather now.
Oh, heck, that's somewhat
80 Fahrenheit degrees. It
sounds the same as like what it is over here.
The problem is, I'm getting feedback. I'm having a problem hearing you.
Okay, I'm not. You can hear me. I'm having no trouble on this end.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. It's just, hey, I can talk all day.
That's fine. I don't mind.
I have to know when to shut up when you're asking a question.
So back to the weather.
Yeah, the weather. It's been unusually hot here, and the rest of the United States is freezing. There's storms, there are blizzards or ice storms, and we are totally in sun and rain and 80-degree weather. It's ridiculous.
It sounds like New Zealand.
Bizarre. Global warming. Al Gore was right.
Yeah, well, I mean,
no, it's not idyllic at all. It's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good. I like cold. I'm by nature.
Yeah, well, if you sit there and look at it, we've just hit our summer. So we're, what do you call it? We're about 2 weeks away from the longest day of the year.
Oh yes, it's the summer equinox for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got to have probably be another blazingly hot summer like we did last year. It was, you know, just one of those things where, you know, being on the other end of the world, all your weather's different. So, what did you think about the Day of the Doctor? What were your favourite parts?
My favourite parts of Day of the Doctor. Well, I've seen it 4 times now, and I'll probably see it a few more times. I got to see it in 3D at a theater 2 days after I saw it the first 3 times. And I had nothing bad to say about this film. The episode was great. I loved the 3D pictures, and you know, they were saying they were going to film it in 3D, and I was like, oh, another 3D thing, you know, like, you know, they're just going to, you know, do it in 3D for no reason, and then to have part of the story breaking out of the ISO cubes and out of the pictures that are 3-dimensional, that was really cool. I thought John Hurt as the, in my opinion, 9th Doctor was great. Loved John Hurt. I was waiting for the chest bursting. Never happened.
Well,
waiting for Alien.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I do have to admit, I mean, I've sat there and looked at it. It was, I think, he played the role very well, considering he was basically, from the looks of it, going to be a one-time wonder. Like Paul McGann unexpectedly become.
Yes, I don't expect him back.
No.
Yeah. The Paul McGann minisode was great too.
They finally got his regeneration
scene. The Paul McGann minisode, I was very happy with.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes he did with a vengeance. I also thought the scenes in the Black Archive were interesting because, you know, we were led to believe that Torchwood and Unit are 2 different things, and that Unit is good while Torchwood was kind of bad. But the fact that they had the Black Archive, Unit had a Torchwood-like environment against the Doctor. And I thought that was interesting that they brought that up.
Yeah, well, one thing that I found interesting is that Queen Elizabeth I basically started, by the sounds of it, started Unit, but Queen Victoria started Torchwood. You do remember those references to it.
But Unit was always friendly to Doctor.
Yeah.
Sorry, repeat that?
Well, yes, you know, well, you know, as I say, how do I say it? I remember in the 10th Doctor's, I think it was, Tooth and Claw, if it was the story.
Right.
They met Queen Victoria and
Queen
banished
Victoria,
them.
Tooth and Claw.
Yeah.
The werewolf, yeah.
Yeah, banished them and created Torchwood.
Right.
But
and Torchwood, go ahead.
Yeah, and then from basically what it sounded like Queen Elizabeth I in this part, which I still don't know, where do you picture David Tennant to basically come into it, is like, when did he meet Queen Elizabeth I? That's what I can't get my head around. He hasn't met there and gone back.
Well, I can get your head around it. I can tell you exactly where he met Queen Elizabeth and got married to. Between the Water of Mars and the End of Time. Part 1. Because when he tells the Ood at the beginning of the End of Time that he just got married to the Queen, and she's no longer, and he kind of infers on that she's no longer the Virgin Queen. So it happened there. Happened while he was Time Lord victorious.
Okay, because now that actually starts making a bit of sense now, because I remember in that story with Charles Dickens, Martha, Doctor, my enemy! Remember that Queen Elizabeth suddenly came out and did that and go, I don't know, something from my future?
Yeah, well, it was definitely. She wanted her husband back. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And what have you watched An Adventure in Space and Time?
Yes, I did. I thought that It was an amazing story told. I did not know that Sidney Newman had anything to do with the regeneration. I thought he had long since left the show in terms of being the head of the BBC. I didn't know he was still head of BBC Drama back then, and that it was his idea, or at least it seemed to be from the telemovie, that it was his idea to have William Hartnell change into Patrick Troughton. I thought that David Bradley played the part of William Hartnell very well. I thought he had the intonations right, he had the mannerisms right. I don't know who the actor was who played Patrick Troughton, but he definitely had it down, though it would have been cool to have Fraser Hines come in and play the second Doctor, because I was at a convention just 2 months ago, and Fraser Hines was there, and he came out during the masquerade doing a little sketch as the second Doctor, and he was great at it. It would have been cool if they had had him do the second Doctor in the Adventures of Space and Time, but it wasn't to be.
Oh, okay. Because the other one that made me think about the second Doctor in the Adventures in Space and Time was David Troughton, his oldest son, who seems to be the one following the Doctor Who thing. Like, he's the current audio voice for the second Doctor.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But if you notice in Light at the End, Fraser Hines actually did it.
Oh, did Fraser Hines do it, not David Troughton?
Fraser Hines did it in Light at the End, and he does it in the companion the stories when he does the companion chronicles. When he's narrating the stories, he does the voice of Patrick. He has it down, but you're right. Patrick's son David has his voice. You know, I mean, he sounds like him too.
Yeah, which, I mean, he's probably one of the few who have sat there and been in both classic Doctor Who and modern Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He's one of the few who've got to have been lucky enough to do both.
Yeah. Like Colin Spall, who was in both the Dalek story with Colin Baker and the Cyberman story with David Tennant. He's also one of the two-timers that's out there.
Yeah, also the other one, he played Sir Keith Gold in Inferno. Also played Colonel, I can't think of his name, in the one where Agatha Christie made, and the Unicorn and the Wasp, I think the story was called. Yeah.
Yeah.
He appears in that story as well, so, you know.
There are only a few people who've done both. And Graham Harper, of course, is directed for both. And Graham Harper is one of the classic directors of the old show, and I loved him. Case Androzani, one of my favorites.
Which era was Graham Harper in?
Graham Harper directed for Peter, for Colin, for Peter and for Colin.
Oh, so basically
during
the John Nathan Turner era.
Yeah, during the John Nathan Turner years. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I do remember, I have to admit, that was probably one of the best years of Doctor Who. I mean, the John Baker era was good, but how was it? John basically, I don't know how he did it, but he still managed to run the show very well on, you know...
And yet, I know a lot of people who would completely disagree with you and say JNT destroyed Doctor Who. That's not my opinion.
Michael Gray did. Michael Gray did. There was also another one.
Well, yeah.
You remember, was it Wurzel Gummidge?
Wurzel Gummidge, John Pertwee, yeah.
Yeah. They did they did 2 series in New Zealand where John Pertwee played Wurzel Gummidge, and, you know...
Wurzel Gummidge Down Under.
Yes. And Michael Gray was the one who acted that series when it was between Television New Zealand and Channel 4 in the UK. Michael Gray was the one that killed it.
Yeah, Michael Gray has issues.
He seems to, you know, that's another one I found out he killed, and that was 3 years after he killed, put Doctor Who on hiatus. So, you know, I thought that was just, why did you have to sit there and do that? It was just like, what?
Yeah, Michael Gray, I have a problem with him. He's been making a comeback on British TV and in the business lately, and he still says that he was right about Doctor Who. No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. I mean, if he didn't start what he did, I wonder how the 90s and 2000s would have panned out, and I think it could have...
Well, if Andrew Cartmel had worked his master plan, the Doctor could have been more mature in terms of content of Doctor Who, and it would have made the jump. I think Doctor Who would still be on the air. That would, even if Michael Gray hadn't canceled it. I think during the 90s, Doctor Who would have flourished, and it would still be on now. I think we would have had 50 seasons instead of like 38 or 36 or whatever we're at now, 33.
Yeah, some number. And the other thing I'd like to see with the series, like if you sit here and look at 1963, they ran a 48-week series.
Yeah.
Out of 52. Now it's a 13-week series. Like what I'd like to see is, I don't know what the writers' commitments are to other shows. I mean, we sat there and saw that last year with both Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat. They both had other commitments that delayed the series till August last year. When was it August? It could have actually been more September, but it delayed it a lot longer than it ever had been because of other commitments. What I'd like to see, but I don't know what the budget's like, is a 26-week series or 2 13-week series, like one in...
I would love that too.
Yeah. The other one is, I mean, they've done more focus of filming in the States. What I'd like to see them is if they sat there and focus more on New Zealand, Australia, the Pacific Islands, possibly Argentina or, Brazil. Because, those sorts of parts of the country, should I say the world, haven't had much Doctor Who filming, none actually. They've had some mention in it, or could also sit there and look at, Eastern Europe. One I would love to see is, meeting, what was the name? Dracula. That would be an interesting episode. I don't know if Dracula is supposedly true or if it's a myth, but Transylvania does exist.
Well, in Big Finish, they had a Fifth Doctor story where they met Vlad the Impaler. So they've actually had a Dracula story with Doctor Who before.
Yeah. The other one is that's related to my family history. World's First Steam Engine. Depending which book you read, obviously, there's either Richard Trevithick or there's George Stevenson. It's all done in the UK. Great Britain at the time is what they called it. And it was over the world's first steam engine. And we've got paperwork on store of what happened, including the invention trying to be stolen and all sorts of stuff. Because, this is all sitting in New Zealand, all this paperwork for it. But what would be nice if they sat there and did a story behind it? It would be something a bit different.
Yeah.
That's something that is missing. That's one thing that's, as Sidney Newman said, is to be educational. It's for the kids to learn something. That would fit that category. Yeah. Also, how's Mark Who 42 coming along?
Oh, Mark Who 42's Whoniverse, our podcast, is coming along great. You can do you listen to us?
I haven't. I've shared your ad basically from what Christian sent me. I want to listen, but I'm wondering, is there a free way you can get around it? Or do you have to sit there and go on iTunes and pay, I don't know, $1 or $2?
Oh, no, we're free on iTunes, but if you don't go to iTunes, markwho42.com. That's it, markwho42.com, and you'll go right, you'll get all 40, I think we're now at our 42nd show we're about to be recording this weekend. And it's all there, markwho42.com.
Okay, something to look forward to. Anything you want to ask me, since we're, halfway around the world?
Well, okay, what's on television today? I'm interested.
What's on television in Boreal, New Zealand?
What's on television in New Zealand? What did you watch?
What's on television in New Zealand? Well, if you're on air an hour ago, when Emmerdale was on, which if you know Fraser Hines was on Emmerdale.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, what would be now? Oh, Dickinson's Real Deals might be on there. If you got UK TV, you might have The Bill. Judge Judy's on at about 4:30 on Vibe. God, I have to say, I love it.
You get Judge Judy also?
She's good. I do have to admit, it is repeats, and I do have to admit it is old, but I have to admit, I do like her, because she's the no-nonsense bitch.
She is.
I love her. I think she should do Judge Judy on a world tour, go to different countries and do her own court shows in these different countries and see how many people are fools to get themselves on air and put out pathetic claims.
They should do what they did with Jerry Springer and have a Judge Judy the musical. Judy the opera. I'd pay. No.
Hey, apparently, I don't know if this is still true now, but apparently Judge Judy had a house in Queenstown in New Zealand. Because New Zealand's one of those countries, and my mum said, she would like to go down to the supermarket and there just to sit there and bump into her in the checkout queue just to ask her would she consider cleaning up the New Zealand court system. Because ours is just backlogged forever, but I think every country's backlogged forever.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and isn't The Hobbit, has that opened by you already?
Yes, we had our screening, it could be a midnight screening, could be tonight, because it's, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? No, I think it is Wednesday's midnight screening, because my one of our fellow admins, Brian, sat there and said, because I'm working tonight, I couldn't get it, but he said, we could go to a midnight screening of, was it tickets or something? He said there were 2 seats left at Reading Cinema in Wellington. So,
right.
And, for a midnight screening. So that would be quite cool, but doesn't look like reality for me.
I've heard that Sylvester actually has a bigger part than it was expected in the second one, because there's a lot of running around because it's the second story, and Gandalf and Radagast have an arc, so it should be cool.
It's a little bit different. I mean, I'm not so big into The Hobbit. I wait till when it comes out on DVD. That's just me.
Yeah.
But no, watch us.
I'm going to see it in 3D on the IMAX screen on Saturday.
Oh, nice, nice.
That's me.
My uncle is a big fan of it, and I remember when I went to Armageddon in Wellington, I had a picture of Sylvester McCoy, and he said, "Since when did you get a picture of Radagast the Wizard?" And it's like, it's Sylvester McCoy from Doctor Who, the 7th Doctor. We're arguing on the net of who he was, who we know him as, because we know him as two different things. Because I know him as Sylvester McCoy, he knows him as Radagast the Wizard.
It's incredible that he's got a second career now. He's always had a career, but he has a new claim to fame, Sylvester. I saw him 2.5 months ago. He was down here in Miami, and I talked to him. He's a great guy.
Yeah. I also asked him if he would consider permanently moving to New Zealand, considering this is where all his work is at the moment. He said, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'm thinking you make a good point. I'm now going to have to think about that. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show, Mark. I better sit there and move on.
Thank you, Sam.
Oh, that's all right. Nice to have someone halfway across the world. I think you're the first one in this new format that we've managed to get from there, and you're the first person from the States on our show.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no. I lied there. You're the first person by video. The other person was Melissa Adams from Hovian Asylum, which was done by telephone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the first guy that they can see on YouTube and see my face.
Yeah, and not having a picture plastered in. Yeah. So we're going to take a break, and you'll be joined next by Christian Basil, who's from the Facebook page. What's the Facebook page? It's the Legends of the Travelling TARDIS.
Of the Travelling TARDIS.
Yeah, Legends of the Travelling TARDIS. Yeah, who's also becoming from
on Mark 42.
Yeah.
Mark 42.
Yeah, and also will be coming live from the States, so we'll see you after the break.
But guess what, Christian? I beat you on the show.
Doctor Who is the most amazing television show on the planet. From Netflix to Reading Company, all the episodes have been amazing. And Doctor Who is a show that really changes your life. Long night.
Hello, Doctor. Where are your friends from China? I'm from Beijing. November is your birthday, and I want to say happy birthday to you, and I love you.
So welcome back. And it's, it was quite good speaking to Mark. So now we've got Christian Bale from the Legends of the Travelling Tardis. How's it going? At the moment I've got TARDIS flying around on the TV screen, so, it's a bit interesting.
Oh, damn, I dropped it.
So how are you, Christian?
I'm doing quite well. How are you guys?
Oh, well, I think we're doing quite well over here. We hit our summer, just as you know. So we have a right to say we've got, 30 degrees Celsius temperatures, or what do you call it, as you'd say, 80 degree Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. We've got 80 degree Fahrenheit, yeah, and I think we're the only state to even actually come across that. So our other 49 states are a little jealous of us, but...
Yeah.
I'm going to do my impression. I'm doing my impression of Peter Capaldi.
Oh, yes, I do remember that where it was, pretty fine swing. Yeah, okay. So, what did you think of the Doctor Who 50th anniversary?
I thought it was marvelous. I thought it was everything pretty much that not only summed up what Doctor Who was from the very beginning. It honored the old traditions of Doctor Who, but left a new mark for something wonderful to happen. I think a lot of the critics of Stephen Moffat, who just kind of went out there and said, he's destroying everything, I think he really redeemed himself, even though we had to sit here and wait for all the plot lines and the plot twists to cohesively come together and work everything out. It finally did, and I'm very excited to see the Christmas episode coming up soon when Peter Capaldi finally comes up. And we still have a few things like, why aren't there no ducks in the duck pond and all those things that haven't been tied up. The Pandorica, where did that come from and all that. So hopefully the Christmas episode will wrap that up for us.
Yeah, well, it does, actually mentioning on that, yes, it does seem to be, it's the year that seems to have summed up a lot, like, The Name of the Doctor. Now, that was a very interesting episode, which basically spelt that John Hurt theory just came out in that episode. You remember the last scene, it just sat there and go, oh, that one, yes, but not in the name of the Doctor. It just basically, and then basically final scene, introducing John Hurt as the Doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought for a lot of people, I also thought it was kind of a little bit hokey. I think we maybe just had a shot of him and his face just kind of fading away and just seeing it instead of the kind of title coming up over there. But it was forgiven, and a lot of people actually had their misgivings about who he was going to be, whether he was going to be a bad guy, a good guy, the Valeyard. But I kind of like the way he turned out, and giving a little bit more of kind of giving an idea of what the Doctor is now in his current incarnation to the way that he developed all the way from the War Doctor up until now.
Mm. Yeah, it showed a different side, because I do remember Christopher Eccleston having that very, like he said, Rose changed him. I do remember that era, and that was in his last, that was just before his regeneration. I do remember that he said, if it wasn't for you, Rose, I would still be the same. You remember the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah, and yes, kind of, I think. Don't know it offhand, but is that from which episode?
That would be his last episode. I'm just trying to think. What was it? Was it The Parting of Ways? No. That was when Rose left.
The Parting of the Way.
Parting of the Way, or Bad Wolf. It was the Ninth Doctor, not the 10th. It was Christopher Eccleston. It could have been Bad Wolf or after Bad Wolf. That and then followed by that was that where there was that Christmas special, which was like a new I can't think of the name, but it was where it's like, you've changed. You remember what I was talking about?
Not offhand. I kind of actually remember the scene in The Journey's End where Rose ends up with the alternate Doctor.
Yeah.
And the current Doctor reminds him. It goes, does he remind you of somebody? And took a while, but it finally caught on that it reminded him of the post-war Doctor.
Oh, okay.
The Eccleston Doctor.
The Eccleston Doctor. Okay, yeah. And you've watched Adventures in Space and Time?
Loved it. So loved it. I think the only criticism that I even have about that movie, if there's any to be given, was that I would have loved to have seen all the Doctors. Not just Matt Smith, but all the Doctors lined up to see what he had accomplished beyond his time, what he had started. If you remember that, there's a picture going around on the internet where Matt Smith's talking.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Matt Smith's talking, and he's...
that cameo appearance. Yes, I know which one. Yeah, actually, that's an interesting point. You know, as you said, you know, and what do they do? The current age of the Doctor, or the previous? You know, just basically a cameo appearances of the as their character. Because I think you've probably seen in the final scene of the Day of the Doctor, where they had basically Matt Smith, John Hurt, and David Tennant, and then they had the rest of them as other actors with the put that animated thing on their face, the dots and all that, so then they could sit there and plaster on it, animate another face onto it. You remember that final scene? Would you have the Doctor's cameo in that sort of way, or would you have the Doctor's cameo as the actual age of the actors?
I think I would have CGI'd them in. I think I would have taken some pictures from oak times when they're just waving or smiling and stuff like that, so they're at their prime, just as Hartnell was at his prime when he was doing that scene.
Yeah, which that would have been one of his final ones. Yeah,
you could have done the old Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting way you can sit there and you can put all of that.
Are we live, by the way?
Yeah, well, we're filming, yes. Are you losing me or not?
Oh, okay. The only reason why is that it's breaking up. I get maybe the question a second later, so I don't know if I'm like coming in strange or
no, you're
you may ask a question and I don't answer until 5 seconds later. That's
you're coming in crystal clear. I mean, there's a little bit of a lag, but that's just to do with, you know, the distance the data has to travel.
Yeah, I just don't want the lag to make it look like, oh, what's going on? What's wrong with him?
No, there's nothing wrong.
The question.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the standard with an international interview. There's a little bit of a lag. I'm not worried about that. It's the same with TV. If you sit there and they do international interviews, you notice there will be a little bit of a lag. Well, I don't know about where you are, but where we are, there is a bit of a lag between, you know, when they do international interviews.
Yeah, a bit of lag in Kiwi land today.
Yeah,
a wee bit.
So with with Adventures in Space and Time, do you think they showed a little bit of a different part of, you know, Verity Lambert, all of that? Showed something different?
I'm sorry, that's where the question got cut off. Can you repeat it again?
Okay. Do you think, you know, with the Adventures in Space and Time, did it show more, like, something I found that it displayed more was, it showed more of Verity Lambert rather than, you know, when I first heard about it, I thought it would just show the filming of Doctor Who, but it showed more of the background stuff, like, showed more of Verity Lambert, how it all started, and then William Hartnell and all of that.
I think it was more than just that. It kind of gave 3 stories instead of just one. It was Verity's story, it was Williams' story, and who was the director? I'm sorry, his name is escaping my mind.
Warris, now what was his last name? Habas...
Warris.
Yeah, Warris, the director. Yeah.
I kind of saw that as 3 different stories. It was the stories of them. It wasn't even too much about Doctor Who. It was more of the stories of their lives, how they intertwined, how they made this TV show work that was essentially was supposed to be a failure and didn't like. And, you know, here we have the first woman producer, we have a very young director, and an actor who's just not.
Yeah, also the other part that they had in there was the first Indian director for the BBC, which, you know, at that time it was a new thing.
Right. So I meant, in the essence of, you know, using the old cliche, great men are forged in fire, then we could actually say that great TV shows are forged from something new, something wonderful that's happened, something risky that was being taken by then. And Sidney Newman at the time, at least from what I've seen and read about him, knew that this was the time for Verity's time. This is the time for something new and different. And Doctor Who not only got through all that, got big ratings from the Daleks episode, but has stood the test of time to be a 50-year-old show that continues to keep going and win people over.
Yeah, I mean, what other TV shows have made 50 years? I mean, the only one that I can think of the top of my head that's made more than 50 is Coronation Street.
Right. Well, I don't know if there's a difference between soap operas and such, but it's the
only one I can think of.
Difference.
Oh, and there are some
science fiction show like this.
Yeah. Oh, there are also some other American shows like Young and the Restless. I bet you that's still going. It's Long, Bolder Than Beautiful, and they're just old as ever.
Yeah, but it goes to show, like, the creative minds that came up with, you know, Sidney Newman coming up with changing the lead actor, so it would allow to do that. As much as soap operas change actors and actresses, but we have a exciting thing that happens with Doctor Who. We say goodbye to the old, but we see a new character coming and emerging and arising, and an audience taking liking to this new person.
Yeah, and Doctor Who has that, which not many other TV shows have that. I mean, you sit there and you look across New Zealand, like, I don't know if it's made its way over there, but one of our biggest hits was Outrageous Fortune, and it had Robin Malcolm play Cheryl. She basically was the show. And I remember it felt a bit odd in the last season where they had her locked up in prison on remand for the half the series.
I am not seeing that yet.
Oh,
so,
okay. Well,
can't comment on that.
yeah, it is a good TV show. It is worth watching, and it shows you what real New Zealand's like. It's better than our soap, Shortland Street. Which, you know, I bet that would have made their way to the States back and forth, I don't know how many times. Yeah. So, anything you want to ask me on here?
Well, actually, what did you think about the 50th anniversary show, and did you go out to see it in theaters, and did it make a difference whether seeing it in theaters or just seeing it at home?
I haven't seen it at the theaters, I have to be honest. How it worked was, before I was about to go to Auckland, go around the country, because I was visiting Doctor Who fans for 3 weeks, I had, my car broke down, and so I wasn't going to book a ticket and didn't know which theatre I was going to book a ticket at, and then it was basically, car broke down, I found I found this other car that is just like the one I've got, except for a different colour. And so I basically, and it was basically like, it was get the car, get it road legal, and as soon as it was road legal, I was on the road. But by the time I sat there and did that, there were 7 different theatres in Auckland, which is the biggest city in New Zealand, and they were all booked out. they were all booked out, and then but I think they did screenings as time went on. But I just thought I want to watch it on TV because we just got the simulcast because we originally weren't going to be part of it, but then they brought it in with 10 minutes delay. So I got up at 9 o'clock in the morning and watched it on Prime. And then sat there, and then went to and then later in the day went to a friend's house, and then we rewatched it at 8:30 at night when they replayed it.
What was your favorite moment in the show? Did you have an expectation that was met or failed or didn't show up?
There was an expectation there, but it pretty much got failed well before it reached the Stephen Moffat point. Stephen Moffat basically extinguished that way before that. Because all I wanted to see was all the original live actors playing possibly as the Doctor, but, Reality Land, I do have to admit it wasn't going to work, even though I'd like to have seen it. But I also would like to have seen some couple older companions come in. I sat there and went through it at home. I sat there and had a bit of fun. I wrote a partial script, and it was going to be the one that tied all the loose ends, which basically that's all Stephen Moffat did was tie all the loose ends, but he tied it in different ways. Like what I would have liked to have done to tie all the loose ends was I would have had some very interest. I would have had possibly some of the old companions be there. Like what I would have liked to have done was, have you noticed there seems to be an age discrepancy between the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, and between the 9th Doctor? There seems to be, he was 953 when he was Sylvester McCoy, but he drops to 900. And so then I would have liked to have seen where he actually had his 1000th birthday on the show, and then the rating sits and he comes and exposes that he was lying about his age, he was really 1100 years old.
No.
Something, and that would have been where all the old companions would have made a comeback plus previous incarnations. But, what Stephen Moffat did, I think he did a lot better.
Oh, I think so too. I think especially the ending where he has the dream where all the doctors get together and look at Gallifrey. It was a love letter to the fans as it was quoted. And especially for me who grew up in the 70s and 80s with Tom Baker's being my doctor and always will be my doctor. He not only embraced the history of Doctor Who from the very beginning, but entailed it to the very end to Matt Smith with the storyline that, he left his home, but he wanted to go back. In fact, it was at the very beginning where the first Doctor goes, someday we'll go back there. Me and Susan and I will go back there. Now he has to go back, and he's taken the long way around. It's been many lives, many stories, many villains, but now he knows his journey is to go back home. I'm hoping the Christmas episode won't be the end-all be-all. We're hoping that, but it'll be interesting how, it takes on, how if he saves Gallifrey or not, what will happen in the new line of stories coming up when he goes to Gallifrey, and I'm very interested in how Peter Capaldi is going to take that role.
And will it be he becomes Lord President of Gallifrey for the 3rd time?
Something like that, 4th, 5th, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, I'm a fan who, you have to remember, because a lot of people were getting angry at Moffat, but you got to remember, he is somewhat just like me. He is a big fan of the old series. Yeah. And it had to be in Moffat we trust. He had a love for it. He's not going to sit there and let the stories die, even though, the stories got complicated. I think that just added to the fun of it, where it became more, not just a single story where it just began in one episode and ended in the next. Something very minute in season 2 of episode 1 will become something very large in season 4, episode 5, and make a big, huge difference to the Doctor's life. So I meant the fans who grew up watching Doctor Who are now running the show. So they're not going to let it just sit there and become this lame thing. I think they have thought this through for years.
Yeah, and make it where it keeps dragging on forever. You still got me there or not?
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Okay, yes. Oh, okay. What I basically, from what I see from it, make it where the stories drag on forever, and there's, little bits that marry up a couple of years down the track. You still got me or not?
Well, I'm hoping some loose. I think I lost some of the question. I'm sorry. Let's try one more time.
Okay, what it was is more like tying up the loose ends, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like have little bits there, but, they tie up a couple of seasons down the track.
I'm hoping there'll be some more tied up loose ends. I still want to know where everybody, the cracks in time came from, where the Pandora came from. I'm thinking they're leaving those plot lines open so that for future episodes they will be explained, or people will go, oh, okay, that's the reason why those things happen. And it's kind of a nifty thing that from somebody who, came in from even Eccleston's time, who will see something familiar and then see it along down the line. It's almost like a little gift at the end, a little Christmas gift, to see something that, that never got explained here, but it's been explained now into the future.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to have to call it time because we've got another interview from, was it Tauranga waiting, and she's been waiting half an hour, so we better get moving. So thank you for being on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, and what do you call it?
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, that's all right. We don't mind having people. We love to have the international interviews, considering, it seems a little bit more we get out there in the world. So, yeah.
Well, I guess it's time to take my traveling TARDIS and go.
Okay. So coming up after the break, we'll be joined by Carolyn Tamakis all the way from Tauranga, which is a bit local. Thank you. See you after the break.
I've been running every day of my life. For 900 years, I've been running, saving lives. I've been running on this day. The day of the Doctor.
And welcome back. So, it's come to the last part of the show tonight. We'll be drawing the Dalek Tea Towel competition. So, we'll be seeing. Now, we'd like to thank Urban Charm for donating this to us and letting us use this. So, have a prize for it. And it's, a very nicely screen printed tea towel, as, we've seen and shown in previous episodes. So, quite nice. Definitely, worth sitting there looking at. So, we're going to now sit there and pick the lucky winner. So, let's see, who's the lucky winner? A drum roll, please. Okay. Going to be interesting. Okay, our winner is Tony Tony Pesco. Now, where in the world? So we'll just do the IP address to trace. Trace my... So, just a moment. Sorry, it's taken a little bit there. See where in the world she is. Even better, this fan's based in New Zealand. Even better, also use the same phone company I use for the broadband. So yeah. So Tony, was it Pasco? We'll be sending you this out in the post. You just sit there and give me an email at sam@0800tardis.co.nz if we haven't got to you before this show goes on air, and we'll send this Dalek tea towel on the next courier up to your place. So basically, for our lovely ending messages, I'd like to thank you for all the guests on the show. I'd like to thank Mark, Christian and Carolyn for all coming up on the show. And, well, thank you for playing up with all the lagging and all that. Oh, God. And I'd also like to thank you, Urban Charms, for providing us the prize, and Carl Pierce for negotiating it. And would also like to thank you, the fans, you guys, for watching. If you'd like to sit there and check us out, you can also check us out on our website. That's www.0800tardis.co.nz. And, or you can check out our Facebook page on 0800 TARDIS. If you'd like to sit there and send any information or any news to me, you can also email me, sam@0800tardis.co.nz. Plus, we will be celebrating 1 year on air. 1 year on Facebook will be the 27th of December. So I'll be resharing little bits of new shows across the whole years and all that. Basically, what we would like you to do is sit there and tell us what part you'd like that you found funny, little bloopers, little mistakes that have happened. Trust me, we'll leave half of them in there for you to sit there and find for this sort of thing, and all that. So you can also sit there and choose what you like. So we'd like to see all of that if you feel free to do so. So from us here at the 0800 TARDIS team, we'll see you online, on the show, or in person. Thank you for watching. Good night.